Today would have been the start of off-season workouts for teams with new head coaches. So Mike McCarthy in Dallas, Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, Joe Judge in New York, Matt Rule in Carolina, Ron Rivera in Washington. Only virtual off-season work now. So essentially today is the first day that there's actual on-field action that is being missed. And so for more, let's bring in Dan Graziano, our NFL insider extraordinaire. Dan, what are you hearing after this call with the president this weekend and everything else about the NFL's plans going forward?
Well, let's focus on the offseason. First of all, you mentioned that it would have been the start of offseason programs for teams with new head coaches as early as today. Those plans are on hold. Obviously, the league and the Players Association are discussing what the offseason work rules will be in a situation where players can't go to team facilities. At this point, they would have been able to work out with strength and conditioning coaches, would have been able to sit in meetings, etc. Can't do any of that. I heard from a league spokesman last night who told me, quote, "We anticipate having a decision about the timing and content of the offseason program early this week." So sometime early this week, teams will have the rules for what they can do in terms of communicating with their players, getting them playbooks, having virtual meetings, etc. So that's all being worked out now in terms of the offseason. So far, this isn't a week where people would miss any significant work, so there's no rush to get that decision made, but they should have it in the next couple of days. And in terms of projecting out to the regular season, look, not much has changed since last week. The NFL is of the hope and the optimistic belief that it can have its season as scheduled, but really nobody knows at this point because so much depends on what happens in the coming weeks and months in terms of the situation in the world at large.
All right, Graziano, we'll check back with you. Thank you. Meanwhile, here's who else I have for you today talking football. Dan Orlovsky and the big swagoo, Marcus Spears. It is great to see you guys. Hope you had a good weekend. Danny, I'll start with you. As you hear this conversation, football, the idea that perhaps football will be back in September, and we know that as of now, the teams with new coaches are missing work. What are your overriding thoughts?
Greeny, I'm a lot like you. I choose to be optimistic about this, even though it's April 6th. And I think the reality is this. Great leaders always have plans. And the NFL is full of great leaders. So listen, if the NFL starts on time, that's great. We know how to do that. But the leadership of the NFL needs to have multiple plans that are ready to enact. Maybe a variables change. Maybe there are no fans, or maybe it's a shortened time frame, or maybe it starts later. They need to have all those plans in place and be ready to react accordingly. And Greeny, I'll be honest with you, man. If we get football in any capacity in September, I'll be thankful for that, because the reality would be this. That means that we're in a better place then than we are now, and I'll be thankful for that.
Yeah, for sure. Swagoo, put yourself in the position of being an active player right now. What do you imagine the players are thinking now and going through and dealing with as they try to figure out exactly what their future looks like?
Well, you know, the word obviously is optimistic, G, but I believe this is a moving date. But I think, like Dan said, in leadership, you want to give a good headspace. You want to give hope that the football season is here, because not only does it represent football, it represents normalcy. That's what people are trying to get back to. So football has always presented us with an opportunity to break away from the realistic things that happen in life. But when we look at this situation that could obviously affect there being football and get rid of those things that we've been able to get away from for so many years because football is being played, is in jeopardy per se. But I'm with you guys. I choose to be optimistic, but I know that this is a moving date, and I know no one truly knows if the football season will start on time. But in some capacity, if we can get it, it will represent what normalcy is in this country at that time of the year. And I think everybody is looking forward to that with hope and needs that.
Absolutely. I want to make clear what I mean by optimism. Listen, I'm not unrealistic and I'm not Pollyannish, but it doesn't cost anything to root for the best. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to root for the best. I don't have access to any information everyone else doesn't have. I'm going to root for the best. I'm going to hope that it works out well. But if you're the NFL or us or anybody else, you plan for all possible eventualities. We'll wait and see. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.